One of my kind of personal rules about art making is that it really doesn't matter what you do, but it really matters how you do it. And that's what's most important. I think art is fundamentally about the joy of making things and communication. Artists in general, and visual artists in particular, are always spectators. You draw your raw material from the world around you, but because you do that, it makes it very difficult to feel like you're part of that world, because you have to recreate the sense of the world through your artwork. It makes you always feel like an outsider. It's a very lonely kind of occupation too, because like I've spent the better part of my life standing in one spot. The real inspiring achievement that keeps you going day to day are these little successes that you try to achieve on a daily basis. They're literally the greatest moments of your life, even though you're experiencing them by yourself, standing there staring at this flat surface. That's where the real art exists, in those tiny little moments. All of this process that I go through, you know, the ultimate aim is to make this work of art that will outlive me, will outlive the Queen, will outlive all of us that are here, and that in future generations, people will say, oh, that's a nice painting. And people will value it, not because I did it or because of who's depicted, but because of the way it's done. There's a whole world between me and the Queen. The difference in this process and my normal process is the lack of the personal connection, because for a painter, especially a portrait painter, what you're trying to do is paint an image that is revealing not just of the person and the position they occupy, but something about them as a human being as well. Well, I have to present it to the commissioners first, and then after that, it has to be presented to the Queen. She would sign off on the image at this stage. All these people that I study and have admired for forever, they're all dead. Like, you know, Piero della Francesca, you know, he died in 1492, but I still refer back to what he did. Not only his work, but his thinking and his sensibility and personality live on through that work. And this is home. That's what it is. I've been here in 30 years, but this feels like home. There's a subtlety to his colors and his tonalities and the kind of spatial construction that I just don't see anywhere else. He's a really unique personality in the history of art. Through the work, I sense that he thought and felt about the universe the same way that I do. The hope is to interest her in the process that I go through and why I go through that process. So what I'm going to try and do is show Her Majesty the last of what I'd call the kind of pre-preliminary maquettes. And this is, so far, this is like the kind of end of the journey to this stage, just so she gets an idea of the point at which I've arrived. And I'll work my way back to the beginning of those. I think the earliest one is like that, which is, again, sketchier looking still. And I'll also put out these details of her face. And I'll try to explain to her that it's not just because I like playing with dolls, but, you know, there's real purpose into all the work of going into building this model. Her response to this is probably going to tell me a lot about who she is and the kind of person she is. If she finds it interesting, that says one thing about it. If she doesn't find it at all interesting, that says something else. But I'm sure, you know, she'll be able to interject whenever she wants, and if she's seen enough, that's enough, and that'll be that. But we'll see. I bet within the first minute, I'm going to have a feeling for what direction it's going to go in. It was nice to be able to talk her through the whole process. And all the while, too, it was nice to be able to being one-on-one, I could really get to see her up close. And we did go over, it was slotted as a 20-minute audience. It went 45 minutes. I've been doing so much talking the last few days that I started to lose my voice in the middle of it, and I thought, oh, geez. So I was coughing a bit. So she said, would you like some water? I said, okay. So she presses a button, and somebody comes in and asks, you know, could we have a glass of water? One or two, ma'am, just one. So he brings in the water, and she hands her a glass of water. So that's, so I got a glass of water from the Queen. I felt that by the end of it, she was quite engaged with the process and excited by the process. You start to get a feel for personality, which is what I was hoping for in the end. You know, just an inkling of the humanity behind the symbol. I think what she appreciated was the commitment to not just this work, but to art itself and my vocation. She's taken her role so seriously, I think that is her life. And I kind of feel the same way about art. I've devoted my whole life to it and committed myself to it. And it gets to the point where you become that. It's not that you have a profession. I think we both have this vocation. We're both committed to it. You know, we'll probably both, you know, die doing the thing that we love to do. I felt that she sensed a similar commitment and sensibility in this project that I was doing for her. I think the whole project, I'm sure, is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, too. Before you get approval, you're always apprehensive, and you feel very alone in what you've done and to the point you've gotten to. But now it feels like clear sailing, the only obstacles being, you know, my ability to make a really good piece of art. how to stretch a canvas. Valuable thing. I think painting pictures is a lot more physically taxing than people would imagine. I think they have this vision of artists just, sitting at a stool in front of a canvas, daubing little blobs of paint onto a canvas all day. But there's really a lot more to it than that. I do this part myself just because I'm pretty fussy about the kind of surface I work on and the nature of the stretcher. I could have gotten other people to do it, but I enjoy this part of the process, and I like to have control of it as well. It's smooth. It looks good. Yeah, she's my guardian angel, I guess. Well, just a reminder that I've got to, watch myself and do as good a job as I possibly can. I always believe, right from the very beginning, what would win out in the end is diligence and persistence and consistency. I think a career as a kind of work of art in itself, using real life as not only a catalyst, but the raw material of your art form still makes perfect sense to me, regardless of the ideologies that come and go. I'm sure that I could have had a much better rapport with the critical world if I'd put in the time and effort to explain myself and all the rest of that, but I was too busy just making the art. The big painting has actually moved along very quickly. It's because of all of that kind of practice for the past year with this image. In one way, it's the scariest stage because you're getting to the point where you're saying to yourself, okay, this is the best I could do. You're almost finished. On the other hand, it's the most exciting because you feel like you're close to achieving something that's close to your mind's eye vision you started with. You generally don't ever reach that point, but if you can get close to it, that's really satisfying. I can wander around the painting quite nicely and enjoy it and kind of weave in and out of the space and not stop anywhere. Whenever you stop, when your eye stops moving somewhere, you've got a problem. No, because I think it expresses what I'm about in terms of my own painterly ideology. And if people don't like it, it'll be for reasons that are probably out of my control. It'd be interesting to see how long she actually looks at the painting. There's just a glance like this, and then that's it. It's over. The thing I'm really thinking about more than anything, it's not so much, meeting the Queen or the Prime Minister or all the other guests that are there. It's one, seeing the painting in a different setting, because I haven't seen it now finished since it left the studio almost half a year ago, I guess. And then B, seeing the reaction to the painting. An unveiling, in a way, it's the end of the painting for me. you know, the end of the project, and I've moved on to other things at least in my imagination. But for everyone else, it's the birth of the painting. This is the beginning of the life, the public life of the work of art. Some of them have seen the process, the sketches and whatnot, but some of them will have no idea what it looks like. And actually, I'd love to be one of them. I'd love to be able to see it just as if it was, you know, dropped out of the sky. But sometimes the unveiling gives you a hint of that feeling because it's in a foreign place. You know, it's framed, it's lit differently. I haven't seen it for a while, and I've forgotten some of the, you know, trials and tribulations of getting there. I'm really looking forward to seeing it in the palace and to see if it holds up against the architecture, the decoration, the other paintings that are in there. I'm hoping it does, but we'll see.
This portrait represents the appreciation of all Canadians for 60 years of outstanding service to our country and the Commonwealth, and we'd be honored if you would do us the pleasure of unveiling the portrait.
But it's changed since it's changed quite a bit since that last
Yes,
saw it.
it's gone from like 6 inches. Yeah, the composition.
Did you get it?
We had to, yeah. Yeah, I think her first reaction was she was surprised at how big it was. I said, gee, you almost think it should stay here because it looks so good in that room. Just hang it up on the wall and leave it. And she also said, you've changed it. You know, almost like an accusation. I thought, oh, gee. Okay, and then I tried to explain why I've changed it. And I said, you know, for one thing, it went from like 6 inches tall to 9 feet tall. But she says, no, you've changed other things, which is true. Like I manipulated some of the relationship of her figure to the furniture. And I was kind of amazed that she'd remember, you know, maybe she'd done her homework and looked at the previous images, but she remembered, you know, how things were situated and noticed that it was changed. So, but you know, she was smiling, laughing about it. So, she did say, I think it was grand and marvelous. I think she was pleased. Today, I feel like with the unveiling, the process really has ended for me. In my mind, I've kind of moved on to other things, but I'm concerned. It's like being a parent and seeing your kids kind of walk out into the big bad world. Now I'm watching the painting and the response to it, you know, the good and the bad, and that's where my mind was yesterday, and it still is today. Striving to make a lasting work of art is a kind of goal. But you've got to enjoy getting there. The real joy and the reality is making the stuff.